Hurricane Milton has been fluctuating between the top of the storm scale for the past 24 hours, but is currently headed towards Florida as a Category 4 storm with 250 kilometers per hour speed. It is expected to hit the Tampa area tonight. Forecasters, they warn the storm will remain an extremely dangerous hurricane through landfall in Florida.
Florida braces for Hurricane Milton that is battling towards Florida's battered Gulf Coast as an enormous Category 5 storm. As predicted, they are warning, in fact, of the storm that will remain an extremely dangerous hurricane through landfall in Florida. It's moving towards Gulf Coast, where it could be one of the most destructive storms on record. It is U.S. President Joe Biden who is warning of the storm that could be the worst in over 100 years. Though it is forecast that the storm could weaken before it makes landfall. It will grow in size. That means basically that the impact will be disastrous over an even larger area. Milton is one of the most intense Atlantic hurricanes on record, as the wind speed surged from 120 kmph to a staggering 280 kmph in just 12 hours, making it one of the most rapid intensification on record. Now, it's expected to make landfall late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning of the United States timing, threatening a stretch of Florida's densely populated west coast that is still reeling from the devastating hurricane less than 2 weeks ago. Now, according to the U.S. National Hurricane this is the National Hurricane Center that has gone on to say that Milton has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes that we have seen in many, many years. In fact, and this is after a storm that barreled through the coastline of Florida just 2 weeks ago. So this is going to be one of the strongest storms that U.S. President Joe Biden is describing it as the strongest storm in 100 years. It's expected to bring in unprecedented rain to the tune of 15 inches, and the impact will be catastrophic. And this storm is out to break records. That is what we are hearing. Now, the maximum sustained speeds are nearing 250 kmph, gusting to about 260 kmph with higher gusts. While, fluctuations in intensity, that is what is expected over the next couple of hours before this storm finally makes landfall. Milton is forecast to remain as an extremely dangerous hurricane through landfall. We don't know the exact location, so the exact location is unknown, but we do know that people have been asked to leave Florida, and Milton has intensified at an explosive rate, making it the third most rapid intensification in the Atlantic basin, and that is according to the National Hurricane Center. What's adding to this intensity is the ocean heat in the Gulf of Mexico. The warming sea surface temperature is providing more energy necessary for hurricanes to intensify. So while it stays at sea, it's intensifying even further, and which is why people have been asked to leave. They've been told that it's a matter of life or death to leave whatever they have, to take whatever they need to, and just leave. Those are the instructions that have been given to people in Florida. We're talking about Florida's Gulf Coast that is at a significant risk of the flooding and damaging winds, and this comes just 2 weeks since, like we mentioned, of that hurricane that was seen just 2 weeks ago in the same area. Now, what we can expect in the populated space of Tampa Bay in the United States, the storm surge is expected to be there. We don't know exactly the location. They don't know as yet, even though we're just hours away from landfall. But we do know that landfall will take place Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. Now, the center is likely to make landfall along the west central coast of Florida and move east-northeastwards across central Florida through Thursday. That is what is being predicted. While fluctuations in intensity, like we mentioned, those are expected, and it's expected to remain extremely dangerous throughout its landfall. The residents are rushing to finish emergency preparations or just leave as Hurricane Milton races towards landfall on the heavily populated area of Tampa Bay. And it's President Joe Biden who's warned the people in Florida to leave their homes as a matter of life and death situation, while the state undertakes the largest evacuation effort that they've seen in years. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said Milton would remain a major hurricane status, and that is going to continue while it continues to expand in size. So it is already a very large storm, and it's going to get even bigger, which basically means it's going to cover more area while it makes landfall. So a word of caution to all the people in the area that has been sounded off by the authorities to leave, as it's a matter of life and death. We will keep tracking the movement of this storm. For now, we do know it's Category 5 and it's intensified. It did lose some of its intensity earlier, but it's again strengthened into a Category 5. And by the time it makes landfall, it will lose some of its steam, some of its strength, but it will be a very devastating storm that's going to be hitting the coastline of Florida.